All That Shreds Magazine and KATN Radio San Diego presents The Shred OGs with your host Andrew Banks, where we examine guitarists from all eras and discuss how they shaped and influenced the music culture of yesterday and today. We have a special guest in the studio today. He's known over the past 40 years for being trend-setting, and also at the same time as he's trailblazing, also basically stirring up the past. And once I introduce him, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Please welcome to the studio Randy Hansen. Randy.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for coming in. And we're eager to see your performance and your show tonight. It's possibly going to be one of the most unique shows that's ever occurred in the United States, and I think there's only 2 showings in the whole U.S. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to expect and what we're going to see tonight?
Well, yeah, what's cool about this show is they've set up a lot of things around Jimmy's music and me, and the whole thing is like a kind of a Pink Floyd presentation on steroids, I'd say, just because the visuals are really impressive, and they're so big that you have to move your head around, in circles to be able to see everything, and you'd actually have to come and see the show maybe 5 or 6 times to feel like you saw everything, just because it's so, just the light show that they're doing is so distracting that they've got couches in there so you can lay back and just watch it like laserium, or you can, and they're at such an angle that if you don't want to look at what's all around you, which it is in 360 degrees, you can look up at the stage and see us too, or and so the combination of the two are just like, I love it. It's just it impressed me. Forget what I'm even doing with it. I would go to see this just to see what they're doing with these graphics, and the artists that whoever put it together is really impressive. I haven't seen it, state of the art, really.
And just to set the stage further for our listening audience, we are in the Arts District, downtown Los Angeles, and the venue that Randy's playing at is called the Wisdom. And it's going to be a very unique experience where, as Randy mentioned, you have 360 visibility. It's a virtual reality show, and it's a one-of-a-kind.
There are 4 domes on the property. It looks, and when you go walking around, you look like you're on a lunar installation or some kind, and it looks like they put like AstroTurf on the moon, and then put these domes that are white on their geodesic domes, and it's a trip just to get there and just see where the location is and what's going on there. It's very futuristic.
Well, we can't wait to see the show tonight, and you've done the Wisdom performance before, correct?
Yeah, we did. We played there. 2 days in a row the last time, and then another 2 days in a row the time before that, and then this is 2 days in a row again, and it's ending up on my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
All right, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, if you make it to Los Angeles, you should really base a trip around seeing the show, and it's unique. I mean, it's the only city that has this performance, and Randy's the only artist that does it. And tell us a little bit about the music you'll be playing tonight.
Well, I'll be doing all the music of Tiny Tim, and let me see. And
please tell me you're playing Tiptoe for the encore.
Well, I have to have my ukulele that has the little ducklings on it, or else it doesn't. I just can't get the feeling up, But yeah, we'll probably also, as a sideline, be doing a little bit of Jimi Hendrix music.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like why we're all here, and you transcend the spirit of Hendrix better than anyone in the entertainment industry. Nearly 40 years on, you've been doing this whole Hendrix experience, and I don't like to call it a tribute band, because when I first saw you in 1982, it was not a tribute band, and now there's a heavy tribute band trend. Well, you're well beyond that.
I would say this, though. We are a tribute band because when I started doing this, that's kind of what they dubbed me. And it was because there wasn't any tribute bands when I started doing this. It was in 1975, and they didn't know, the news media didn't know what else to call me but a tribute band. And so that's what they called it, you know, and we call it a tribute ourselves. It was listed as Randy Hansen's Machine Gun, a tribute to Jimi Hendrix. That's the way we listed it everywhere we went. And so that that word tribute just sunk in right then, you know, with what we were doing. It was like a tribute to Elvis, you know, and that was the only other thing that was around then. So that was a tribute to Elvis. But, you know, really the tribute business has been in business ever since the Boston Pops started playing, you know, Beethoven or all the symphony orchestras. They play the compositions of composers that are long dead. That's been a custom of humanity forever.
Right.
So they have to give it a label, and I don't really care what label. As long as they spell my name right, I'm all good. You know, good with it.
Well, you came out in 1980 with a self-titled album, and it has nothing to do with Hendrix at all. And I remember being a 20-year-old buying that when it first hit the shelf. And Champagne and Cocaine started off the album on side A, song 1. And that was like an anthem for over a year. And, you know, and at 20, I didn't have any champagne or cocaine at that time. But, man, it was just kick ass. And so you have several albums that are also non-Hendrix related.
We know it's funny because the song Champagne and Cocaine was supposed to be kind of an anthem against hard, heavy drug use, but we were using, you know, poetic license and stuff, you know, and it was hard to see what we were saying, you know, and also, you know, it was my first stab at really playing something, writing something for an album, you know, because Capitol Records came to me because of doing Jimmy and just basically threw a record contract at me, and I wasn't even looking for one. And it just happened, you know. They offered me the moon almost, you know, really. It was supposed to be a 6-album deal, but the manager who used to be Carlos Santana's manager, he forgot to sign the option that was attached to that gave us the right to go with any other record company if the record didn't go. And when he forgot to sign that let me out in the cold as far as being able to put out the next 5 records for Capitol. And then Capitol passed on me because that time period passed and I missed out on the whole deal. But otherwise I would have done 5 more records with them, you know, and in a way I'm glad that didn't happen because the pressure of that was enormous, just doing the one record, you know, coming up with it. And go, because I told them I haven't really written anything in a while, and they said that doesn't matter. There's 4,500 people come to see you every night. We want you to do a record, and so I did. And really, I didn't think it was I got a lot of compliments on it, but I didn't really think much of it when I heard it. I went, it doesn't sound groundbreaking to me in any way. I said, yeah, it rocks, but I heard all kinds of things wrong with it, and I guess most musicians feel that way, but I had a real hard time getting into it. And then I'd hear cuts from other musicians who will remain nameless, like, you know, I bought your album, and personally I didn't hear it. And I was like, yeah, me either, you know, and stuff. But it was a learning experience for me, you know. How to write and how to record and everything. I got a lot of tips from some really great producers when I worked on that and everything, because they were all around me. There was 4 studios being used at the Automat, and by Journey and Herbie Hancock and Carlos and Jefferson Starship, not Airplane. But they were coming in constantly, and Ronnie Montrose and Matt, yeah, and you got a shirt on. I met Ronnie there. It was really funny because Randy, this is Ronnie Montrose, and he's listening back to it. He goes, fuck, they didn't leave any room for me, like that, you know, to the playback, because he was about to put his guitar on, and then he was writing on a matchbook cover and he passes it to me, and I opened it up and I looked at it and it said, "Fuck me hard now." I just went.
I still have that.
That was. Oh no, I don't know where that is, but it just cracked me up. I went there. Now that's really good humor.
Well, producer Ted is from Colorado, and I've spent some time there, and that's where Ronnie's from.
Really?
And we were fortunate enough before, unfortunately, he did pass away, to meet him several times at the NAMM show and watch him perform. And he's been a hero of ours. And
many times. He was a really great guy. I ran into him at the Automat a whole bunch of times, and then also out in I went and saw his shows before I ever went there. And everything. I saw Montrose when they did their first Rising Star tour
with Sammy Hagar,
yeah.
with Sammy on vocals. And
right.
The first time I saw him was in '78 when it was his instrumental album, Open Fire.
3 times at the Paramount in Seattle. They kind of kept coming back to the Paramount.
Wow.
And everything. It kind of was their home for a while. And I've known the stage manager at the Paramount. I grew up with him for years. His name's Mike Miles, right? And we used to party in his backyard. We had keggers in his backyard when we were in high school and shit. He was 6'6". He was 6 foot in the second grade when I met him. In the second grade, 6 foot.
Wow. Well, let's talk a little bit about your second recording, which was in 1983. Astral Projection, and it came out on the Shrapnel label. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Shrapnel and Mike Varney and how that whole thing came about.
Yeah. Mike was one of the first guitar players I met when I moved to the Bay Area and everything. We got in jams together and everything, and he came to me one day and he goes, "Man, you need to record that Hendrix show. I'd like to record it." I go, "Okay, well, let's do it." And Jeff Pilson was my bass player back then, and Mark Nelson played the drums. And we recorded it and everything, and then when it came time to mix it, I said, "Well, are you producing this?" And he goes, "Oh, no, you just go in there and you'll know when it's right." And I went, "Cool, he let me produce it, So I went in there and did it. And then we put his name as producer on it,
Well deserved, because producer is such a wide spanning explanation of what someone does.
Producing by telling me you do it, because
right.
you have the vision, and you probably heard this so many times that you know where everything belongs better than I would. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Oh, thank you." So that was really nice that he had faith in me to do that. I'd never done it before, and then since then I've been wanting to produce all kinds of stuff, and I have most of my CDs, like one of them, the latest one, Funtown, I did everything that on it, other than my son helped me produce a poster that was on the inside, and he played drums on one track. Other than that, I did everything else on this thing, and it's a concept record about the planet Earth being an amusement park. And in that amusement park, you get to do anything that we've ever done. You can repeat it. Anything that you can imagine that has ever been done on this planet, good or bad, evil or good, you can do it at this amusement park, Funtown, right? And it's just to show you that how crazy mankind is. And and I wrote all these songs, like one's called Personal Disneyland. Like, we treat our planet like our own personal Disneyland, we do whatever the F we want with it. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to make a point about ecology, I guess, throughout the whole thing, and then sanity and humanity and a cry for sanity, and that's really what the whole thing is about. But I made tickets for each song, and each song is a ride at Funtown, and each song has something to say about it,
And we can take that ride over and over again, whatever ride we like most.
Yeah. And we do.
And we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I do it every night I play. You know, I want to go on the ride of standing on stage and playing Jimi Hendrix music. You know,
What?
Get to do that.
That Randy Hansen e-ticket. There we go. What a great concept the album is. What label is that on? Because I know you were with Boneyard for several albums before that.
I think it's Jazz House Records or something.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, everyone out there, definitely check out the new album that Randy has put out. It's a conceptual album on Jazz House.
We just did with, there's this guy that's famous over in Germany. His name's Helge Schneider. He's like the Jerry Lewis of Germany, kind of. He's just really super talented musically, comedically, but he's an incredible musician. He plays B3 and saxophone he's a motherfucker.
Well, speaking of badasses on keyboard and working with others and collaborating, tell us a little bit about your Herbie Hancock experience, where I think you played on track 6 on his Monsters LP.
Yeah, there's 2 tracks I played on. That was really cool because Herbie was really fun to work with in the studio. We probably on the track you're talking about, we jammed and we did it live where we were looking at each other. He had on his strap on one of those keyboards that you could stand up and play. And he was at one end of the control room, and I was at the other end, and we all had the amps out there. And then we were just like looking at each other, and he'd take 8 bars, I'd take 8 bars, then 4 bars, 4 bar, 2 bar, 2 bar, you know. And that was really fun.
Well, he's a musical genius.
Yeah, and he's really nice. He whenever I see Herbie, he always sees me first and sneaks up on me. And he's the only person that will sneak up behind me, put his hands over my eyes, and go, "Who am I?" Like that, and I go, "It's you, Herbie." While he's doing it, he's laughing because it's not what he said, because his voice is disguised. I can't I don't know who he is from his voice, but as soon as he starts laughing, I know his laugh. Yeah, so I always guess it.
When you do an album like your new album, and I don't know how to phrase this question, but it's almost as if you've got 2 different careers. One is original music, and then one is your tributes, whether it's studio or live, recorded or performance to Jimmy. I mean, at what point do you say, "Hey, I'm feeling like I really want to record an all original album," or now it's time to do some more Hendrix, or how do you go about deciding all that?
I don't know what decides it, because I put it off, and then something says like, "Go record something now." Like the last time when I did Funtown, I got this horrible flu that wouldn't go away, and it seemed to hang on for 3 months, and I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this thing's going to take me. If I got anything to say, I better say it now. And so that's why I wrote Funtown. And then after that, the other thing came as an opportunity where Helga said, "Hey, I want to record you, and you can come to my studio and use my guys, and I'll pay for it." And how could I refuse that? And so I got some things to get some ideas together musically, and we worked on them there. And a few other ones of things that I felt were unfinished that weren't on any record before, and tried to finish up some of that. And I got all kinds of stuff like that, just little bits and pieces that could develop into something where I saved them. Occasionally I pull that shit out and just go, "Yeah, let's work on that."
Well, it's good to have a can of scraps, I guess, that you can reach into and gain inspiration sometime.
Yeah, because usually I'll be sitting on the couch and something will go through my head, and I'll go, "Is that somebody else's?" "No, it's not." "Well, I better get up and record that, otherwise it's gone. I'll never remember it."
Yeah, inspiration is fleeting, and if you don't write it down or capture that moment, then it could be 2 minutes later. It's already out of your mind.
When the spirit radio station strikes in your head, it's good to listen to it, and try to record it somehow.
Well, hey, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Hendrix family, and you're from Seattle, and I know that James Al Hendrix, Jimmy's father, was very supportive of what you've done, and Leon's supportive, and you're good friends with him. And just tell us a little bit about that relationship and how it's going. And
Oh, yeah, Leon's coming tonight to the show and everything. It's always good to see him. He's like really sweetheart guy, really. He's a lovely guy, and I always wish him the best. The whole Hendrix family, I always wish them the best. And yeah, I really appreciate any support that I get from them and anybody else too. Just without that, I really don't have a job. I don't know what I'd be doing. Probably a horse jockey or something. I don't know.
And why would you say horse jockey as an alternate profession?
Well, I'm light. I'd call myself the Pierce Arrow or something like that. And go string bean.
Well, it's come in handy. I mean, I remember seeing you in '82. You were jumping off of Marshall stacks, doing splits. You go out into the audience, and you just don't get back on stage, man. When you go on stage, you're guitar in hand, but you're doing like a kung fu ninja roll to get back on stage, and you're acrobatic with your picks. And I mean, you're in great shape. And here you are, 40 years later, still doing the same stuff. How do you keep in such tip-top form?
I think it's the show that's keeping me in shape. Because after we load in, and I don't have a roadie, so we load in, and then we do the show, and then I load back out. And we go on the road and stuff, and so I kind of repeat that at least 4 times a week, So on the average, when I'm gone and playing a lot of shows in a row, it's usually about 4 times a week, and that really keeps you in shape, just working, and everything. I'm sure there are other things that are kind of like a strain, but if you keep yourself up for it, you tend to stay in shape,
Mm-hmm. Well, if you haven't seen Randy perform, wherever you're at, keep tabs on his website, and it's a real treat to see Randy perform because he is high energy. He really transcends to a higher level in performance, and I just can't say enough. And having a 360 show tonight in virtual reality is going to be awesome.
Yeah, you gotta hear me. I'm a real fireball.
Hey, I got a question for you. Speaking of fireballs, man, in '84, how did you come about getting involved with both Devo and Michael Jackson? What a year! Devo and Michael Jackson.
Okay, now in the Michael Jackson thing is really, 6 ways from that guy, whatever. But that evolved in a real weird way. And I'm not sure to this day what went on, but all of a sudden I got calls from everybody in the media, every magazine, radio, some TV, and everybody called me, right? Even TV Guide called me. We heard that you wrote this song with Michael Jackson and Mick Jagger and Freddie Mercury, this song called State of Shock, and they recorded it. And I went, it's not me. And I started getting checks for this song in the mail. They started sending me checks. They assumed it was me. Now, they didn't know who to send these checks to after that because they had no idea. So
you didn't perform on State of Shock?
So this is the only thing I can think of. Okay, I'm at Lucas Ranch, right, on 4th of July with Francis Ford Coppola, and Michael Jackson shows up. All the people from all the Star Wars movies, the actors, they're all there. And Linda Ronstadt's there. But I don't know that Linda Ronstadt is George Lucas's girlfriend, right? So everybody is following Michael Jackson down to this tent on the property. And he goes into the tent and sits down like he's Santa Claus. And everybody comes in and meets him one at a time. And I looked at someone and I said, I'm not going down there and meeting him like that. You know what? I'm going to go up here and meet the people that are serving us this food. And so I went up there, and I started talking to this girl. And she's wearing a sweatshirt and jeans, and she's got flip-flops on and everything. and she serves me up some food and everything, and I go, and I start a conversation with her and everything, and I go, well, I'm going to go down here and eat my food. You want to come down and talk to me? He says, everybody's down there meeting Michael. She goes, yeah, sure. She goes, why don't you want to meet Michael? I said, I don't want to meet him like this. If I meet Michael Jackson, I want to meet him because I'm working with him. She goes, yeah, I can understand that. And she sits down and talks to me for about an hour. And she's talking about, like, what do you do? I'm a guitar player. Well, long time. What's the name of your band? Randy Hansen Band. And she goes, oh, yeah, I'm a musician too. And she goes, really? Wow. And this is after talking to her for about an hour. We get down to this. And I go, really? Oh, what's the name of your band? She goes, well, it's like you. It's my name. And I go, what's your name? Linda Ronstadt. I went,
holy cow. Wow.
I go, you are Linda Ronstadt. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. You don't have your makeup on, and you're wearing. Look at what you're dressed. I'm sorry, but I just thought you were with catering. and she goes, oh, that's really funny. So I'm thinking, she probably, after everybody left, I'm sure that Michael went into the house with who knows who, and after me and Francis left, I'm sure it was like a good laugh that they got.
Right.
And I'm thinking, Michael might have, like, who is this Randy Hansen guy, you know? Oh, he does a tribute to Jimi Hendrix, and he's in Apocalypse Now. And maybe they filled him in on it because George knows Francis, and Francis would have raved to him about me. And so the only thing I can put together is that he thought, well, you know what? I'm going to give this guy a hand up. I'm going to say he wrote this song. And I would get all the money for it.
The royalties, yeah.
And I said, I can't take money I did not earn. I just will not do that. You know, that's not right. I didn't do that.
That's a fascinating story. I had no idea that you weren't involved in that.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people still think I am. You know, a guy hired me because he goes, I'll pay you $40,000 to play out here in Gary, Indiana. I went, oh, okay. Like that. So I went out there and played and everything. And afterwards, I go, what's with the poster, State of Shock? He goes, you know, your song. I went, it's not my song.
Right.
He went, you didn't write State of Shock? I said, no. He went, holy shit. Like that. And I still got paid. It was like, but it was because of the misconception. You know, I received a lot of attention because of it. But, you know, it was funny about all the big people that wanted to talk to me. As soon as I said I didn't write it, they went, okay, thank you, click. And I went, God, maybe I should have, like...
But I did do something for Apocalypse Now.
I should have said, I'm not saying I did, and I'm not saying I didn't. You know?
Can't confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know your involvement in Apocalypse Now, too.
Paparazzi. You know,
how did that come about, the Apocalypse Now?
That
was
came
rad.
about because Francis wanted to use Hendrix, you know, unheard Hendrix, but they wanted too much for it, and he was running out of money. And then he heard that there was this guy doing Hendrix, and that was me. And then he had me searched out, and then got a hold of management and made an offer to them for me to come and meet with him. And then when he met me, I didn't know who he was. So I went and met with him. I just thought he was just some B movie producer or something. And he asked me if I could sound like Jimi Hendrix. I said, yeah, that's not any problem. He said, can you just improvise and sound like Jimi? I said, yeah, that's basically what I do.
So sound like him without playing
anything of his.
I
said, yeah, I can play you name any song and I'll play it like Jimi would play it. It's all a collection of chords, and then it's just a matter of knowing
tone and style, and
yeah, it's a style. And so he goes, okay, well, I guess I came off as cocky and confident, and so he said, oh, it pays double scale. Do you want it? And I said, yeah, okay. And then I ended up living at his house instead of going to a hotel. I woke up every morning, had breakfast with his whole family and everything, met his dad, who wrote all the Godfather scores, you know,
right.
and everything. That guy woke up every morning sitting by a grand piano, and he had empty sheet of paper on one side. By the end of the day, this stack of papers was over here filled with music every day.
Writing music scores?
Writing music. Just writing music. And then he would send those every day. He would get one of those delivery guys, and he would send that to the studio, who would also then pick up a cassette tape of the previous day's writing. They'd get a sight reader to record it and then send it back to him, because it was all his musical thoughts, and he would just go one after the other, and never looking back, always looking forward. And then that's how he was so prolific in it. And then he would get it back, and then the things that he liked, when he heard it, he'd kind of stick, that's the main thing right there, and he's going, it wasn't arranged yet, but the thoughts were there and everything. And he played me some of this shit, and I was going, God, that's incredible, your melodies and everything. And he was giving me a melody one day, and he got Francis pissed off, because Francis came in and he was showing me this thing, and he goes, "What are you doing? We're way behind schedule here, and we're over budget, and you're messing with the boy. What are you doing?" And he yelled at him in front of me, and he said, "I shall not talk to you. You yell me in front of the boy. You yell right in front of me. I am not talking to you." And he walked out. And before he walked out, he goes, "You know that melody I was showing you? I give it to you." And he walked out. And then he didn't talk to Francis the rest of the time I was there. He was like, I am angry with him. It was not honorable what he did, And it was like total Italian, It was like, I went, God, this is like a scene from The Godfather too, It's like, wow, these Italian guys, no wonder The Godfather looks like that.
Did you do anything with that melody that he gave you?
Yeah, I used it on the last thing I did with over in Germany with Helga Schneider. I finally fitted it into a song. I've been waiting to find something, and I figured out "Dance in the Maya" by John McLaughlin.
Oh.
Well, those three notes, each note is a chord. So I figured out those chords that he was using instead of the melody, and I put it over top of that for each chord. It goes and that's the melody that he gave me.
So a little bit of Mahavishnu Orchestra, Randy Hansen and
Carmen
Coppola. Carmen Coppola is on this album.
Yeah.
And when the album's called,
what is it? Oh, it's Mirror Mirror.
Mirror Mirror.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy that. I'm going to research it and buy it up.
Yeah, it's brand new. That's
awesome.
why it took me a while to come up with the name.
Well, let's flash back one last time before we move on and close up the interview. Devo, the video.
Oh, Devo, that was...
Tell us about that, man.
They just called me up one day, and that Casales guy calls me up, and he goes, we're doing... He told me about, he had this vision when he had a dream that Jimi Hendrix came to him, and we had to record Are You Experienced for our new record. So we went ahead and we recorded Are You Experienced, and now we're going to do a video of it. And tell me, can you still look like Jimi Hendrix, And I said, well, yeah. And he said, get dressed up and get a picture and take it, show me that you're, it's today's date. and send it to me. And he goes, great, you look just like perfect, So I go down there, and and I have to pop out of a casket, and the casket just says R.I.P. It originally said R.I.P. Jimmy, but the artist who was writing on the outside of the casket spelled Jimmy Jimmy, and it looked really good. And I said, that looks really good, while he was doing it, except for one thing. And he goes, oh yeah, what's that? And I go, Jimmy spelled his name Jimi. And he goes, you're shitting me. I go, fuck. And then he just started going, fuck. And then he started repairing it, and he repairs it, and then but now it's all off center. It doesn't look right. He goes, that looks like shit. God damn it. And he just erased Jimmy altogether, just left the RIP and left swearing. And it was like, so he left it like that. And that's why it just says RIP on the outside. If you watch the video, you'll see it.
Yeah.
But you might see some fresh paint that don't quite match underneath it. That's where the Jimmy thing was, and he wiped it all out. God damn it. And it was being filmed right outside a huge military cemetery. Right? And so I got in this coffin right outside of a cemetery and everything, and I'm going like, this is getting spooky. And how many people get inside of a coffin in their lives without, being dead and everything. And here I got to get in this coffin and keep coming out of it over and over, for take 1, take 2 and everything. And they got these flash bulbs right here, and I got to play the guitar left-handed too. So I had to flip the guitar over and put a strap button on the guitar over a right-hander and flip it over and play it lefty. And I thought, can he just, shoot through a mirror or something? And then I'd be lefty. Well, never mind. So I did it lefty. And I put on yellow Hansen ski boots because they were Hansen.
Oh,
right?
that's right.
Yeah, if you watch it, you can slow motion and stop it. You'll see that I have on yellow boots. And you really look at them, you go, they're ski boots. Because I thought, okay, this would be a Devo thing. Oh, they interrupted Jimmy in the middle. He's in heaven and he's skiing. For some reason. I thought, okay, he's coming out and now he's got to play, but he's got these ski boots on. They're Hansen ski boots.
Well, it's
esoteric joke. But anyway.
Well, it's one of Devo's best songs, and you had a big part in the production of the video where people were constantly watching it, and it was definitely talked about a lot.
I like the
that
girls
scene
that were going like this, the blondes, and they all had on the same headbands and everything, and they're like kind of going like worshiping Jimmy kind of thing.
Yes,
and everything, and it's just really surrealistic trying to being a part of it. Forget that, they're shooting with cameras and everything. The whole scene to me was like, and Devo's floating up there, and they're going, and their hips are going, and they're dressed up. They got these hippie wigs on and granny glasses, and I was like, man, it doesn't get weirder than this.
It's weird. We're gonna post a link to that video.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, on our site when we post this.
I especially liked what the guy on MTV said about me before the video came on.
What's that?
Mark, what's his name? Mark Goodman.
Yeah.
He came on and he said, and world famous Hendrix impersonator Randy Hansen is in the video. He plays Jimi Hendrix, and he said some nice things about me. And so when I ran into him. Hall & Oates came to Seattle with Big Bam Boom, and he was with them for some reason. And I went up to him and I said, hey, I want to thank you for mentioning my name in a Devo video. And he goes, oh yeah, what's your name? And I said, Randy Hansen. He goes, you're not Randy Hansen. I saw Randy Hansen play at the Tower Theater in Philadelphia. He's a black man. And I said, that was me. I was wearing makeup and a wig. And he goes, nah, like that. And I pull out my ID and I go, and I showed it to him. He goes, there's a lot of Randy Hansens in the world. I went, you know what? I'm putting together the Band of Gypsies with Buddy Miles right now as we speak. He threw a card at me and he goes, if it happens, call me. And he was really kind of being a jerk to me.
Well, speaking of Buddy...
I don't know if he still believes that I'm a black guy, I was always hoping I'd run into him again and go, it's me.
I'm still white.
Yeah. Like it was important or something.
When you played with Buddy, did you also play with Mitch Mitchell at the same time? Or were they separate times?
Well, it was Mitch came in to fill in for Buddy because Buddy got thrown back in jail for parole violations, and we already had this huge tour scheduled. And we had done 2 of the shows, and then I guess he must have tested dirty, or he came in too late, or I don't know what the rules for probation were for him, but he obviously violated one of them, and they threw him right back in, and then there's no way he can do the tour now. So his manager called Mitch Mitchell, and next thing I know, Mitch Mitchell's on the way to bail us out. I went, I don't know how you did that, but thank you, you know.
Wow.
And so we played with Mitch on the tours, and Mitch is like being out on tour with Keith Moon. He drinks a lot, and he does crazy shit in the hotels, and he's you're risking your life hanging with Mitch Mitchell. It's like I played with Sam Kinison for a while, and he was risking your life,
right,
hanging with Sam Kinison. And we had the same birthday too, Sam and I. He's a year older than me. Tomorrow's Sam Kinison's birthday too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace, Sam. And he
was a great guy, though.
He was awesome.
I miss him like mad. He was so cool.
Well, that's just these stories are just absolutely fascinating.
I'm writing a book about it too. My daughter is a writer, so she's going to help me write it, so I can fill her in on a lot of my life that my kids missed out on, you know, because I couldn't take them with me.
Fascinating. I'll be among the first to buy it. That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be called Substitute.
And why that title? Because of
substitute me for him.
Right.
You know, I'm a substitute for another guy. I look pretty tall, but my heels are high. Simple things about me are all complicated. Look bloody young, but I'm just backdated. That just fits me.
Nice,
you know?
nice.
I'm substituting for another guy, you know.
Right, right. Have you ever thought about covering that song on an album?
Oh yeah, I probably will.
Well, give us the truth and the lowdown on your new signature Golden Phi amp and cab. Tell us about your new signature model.
An amp manufacturer came to me with a small amp that he was using, and I needed a smaller amp because I was playing with this other band
for smaller venues. And
because you don't want to blow people. It's so easy with a Marshall to just blow people's ears off, and we're still doing it. But I wanted something that was smaller, that looked cool, you know, and so I told him to make it look like an old Marshall and give it green Tolex and then gold. Green and gold I thought looked good together.
It's a gorgeous combination, and it sounds nice, and it just looks and performs. And congratulations on your...
hear it, you know, I plug in my regular pedal board, my gear, see if I could play it anywhere, and you know, and it was like that.
Nice.
But the venue has to be small enough for that amp, though, in order to work correctly.
And you still get the tone and the sound that you want, but just with less volume.
Because, man, we play in front of, like, just last year we played in front of, like, I don't know, 80,000 people at Hempfest, and then, like, the next day we were in, like, a little tiny club, you know, and it's hard to be prepared for that much of a shock, you know. You didn't, and all the things you've heard of Hendrix are either in the studio or then you're in a controlled situation. But when you're in a club, you're at the mercy of whatever the PA is and blah, 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 and everything, you know, and the dynamics of the room,
right?
And so
and the skill of the
you're
audio
at the mercy
guys.
of all that.
Yeah.
So you know, it just I used to just go in there and just blow the doors off. I'd just go like, fuck it, like that, you know, and walk in, and if you can't take this, fuck you, you know. And we do that, but as I got older, I went, God, I don't want my ears to ring so much because I have tinnitus, you know, and they still ring, but they seem to be maintaining the same ring and the same note and everything, and you know, so I'm living with tinnitus, but I signed up for it, so now I wear it like a badge.
Wear it like a badge.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Randy, you've been very, very generous with your time, and you've given us some great stories and helped clear the air on some issues and stories that were out there, and this has been an awesome interview, and we really appreciate it. And folks out there, if you ever get the chance to see Randy perform live,
one thing,
yes,
and that's that I really appreciate that I'm turning 65, and then I'm still, because of people coming to see me, able to still do this, because it's like they enable me, you know, everyone enables me to stay alive doing this, and they don't have to do that. So I really appreciate that, and don't think that I don't think about it, and totally really appreciate it because it's making my life magic.
Well, a big wall of thank you from one of the Shred OGs, Randy Hansen. He's been there from the beginning, and you're welcome, and we thank you immensely, brother. Thank you. Awesome.
Can't do it without you.
Thank you very much.
All right.